Good morning and welcome. This is the NMOP meeting. So I have next to me Thomas. Thank you for helping. Reshat, you're online, right?
Yes.
Very good. So welcome to this session. Clicker working. Perfect. Very good. By now, you should know the note well that you read whenever you registered the IETF. So we have someone remote, Reshat. We've got a remote presenter as well. So make sure you're signing into that tracker. Make sure that whenever you have a question, you click on the small hand, as you know by now. What else? Turn on my queue. If there's a show of hand, that's the way to participate there. If you are remote, make sure you use a microphone, like I guess Reshat is doing, a good one. And I think that's about it for the administration. This is the second meeting we're having, so we can be quicker here. So, as always, we need to take minutes. It's great if we can all participate. Can I have one or two person taking the lead here for the meeting minutes? Thank you, Dan. Much appreciated. Thank you, Chongfeng. And by the way, whenever you go to the microphone for a statement, it would be great that you double check the minutes to make sure it was well captured. All right, the agenda. So we're going to start first with the CMAP concepts, then a couple of documents related to the project one, the Yang push. So Yang push to message broker integration, Yang message keys, and the Yang message keys and Yang push topic. Then something new about BMP Yang module. Matt will follow with the RFC 3545 20 years later. Then the outcome of the knowledge graph design team, the AI-based network management agent, the models for distributed authorization, the generalized capability principles, and the applicability of the 8795 Yang module to CMAP. So is there any agenda bashing? One thing we'd like to stress with Reshat is sometimes it's difficult to see which presentation we give airtime. We have some, in this case, a couple of presentations that are late and for which there is not much feedback on the mailing list before presenting. We are lucky to have two sessions for historical reasons because we have hackathons, etc. Pay attention that if we ever go to a one session of 2 hours, this will not fly. So we always prioritize the items that on which there is discussion. So if you post a draft like 1 week before the deadline, then next time it might be a problem. There is time allocated in there. So make sure that whenever you present, you also take care that it contains Q&A. Again, we're lucky there is 10 minutes in the end, right? So but take that into account. Richard, is there anything to add here?
Yeah, I just want to add on what you just mentioned, Benoit, is the goal of meeting face-to-face is not just to present, but to have some good, lively discussions. I seem to remember, I forget whether it was in Montreal or in Madrid, we had good discussions on message keys. It's a draft which had been published, way before. I think we even had an unofficial meeting on that. We had good discussions. It's really hard when there's a 0-0, which is published right at the deadline, to have a good enough group of people to review it and have relevant discussions on that live. So that's the main reason why we encourage people to try to publish early and get some traffic on the mailing list. Thank you.
Thank you. So first presentation, Olga, you should have the clicker.
Sorry, guys, I know it's early Friday, some after late night, but we'll go quickly through this. So today I'll talk, I won't do the full refresh. I'll just point to the things that are changed in the draft, updates since IETF 124, and what next for CIMA. So this is the refresh summary slide, but I put things that are changed into red. We added in CIMAP definition, we did some minor changes to CIMAP definition, adding topological and splitting data and model examples. We also added definitions for CIMAP API, CIMAP client application, and CIMAP server. In regards to mentioning topological entities and topological properties, we added clarifications in the document and we clarified what they are. We also changed all the comments related to the use cases and to the requirements. And for the hackathon, the important thing for the hackathon was that we had a joint hackathon with the knowledge graph, where we put CIMAP into knowledge graph, but we also put active inventory, passive inventory, and relations from the topology to inventory WUBOS draft. And we tried to kind of see if to test for the completeness of the semantics. And there were 3 issues that we brought back to the Ivy, and we attended 2 side meetings for Ivy, where everything worked for active inventory in terms of relationship between CIMAP and Ivy, but for passive inventory, relationship was missing. We also gave some comments about passive device being a network element, which they also already were discussing about, and some topological information being repeated between the two. So this is under discussion as well. So we had a good side meeting yesterday as well. So the results of our hackathons were shared with Ivy. So we had 49 issues opened as a result of the last call, and all issues are addressed on the mailing list. GitHub, we have 0 issues open now. So we pushed version 08 in February 2026. And then Rasha did the Shepherd's review and came back with some 5 questions. And for 3 of them, we kind of made changes. And for 2, we gave clarification. And Rashid said he's happy with what we changed. So we have now version 09 that we hope will go to the ISG. And what next for CIMAP? We are working on the modeling gaps, and there is a version of the document that submitted yesterday and shared on the NMOP mailing list. The goal is after this IETF to focus more on modeling and have a discussion of the mailing list in regards what are the best candidates for each of the requirements. The document was changed. We added some kind of young feature grouping of the requirements, maybe that we can kind of group them into multiple groups so that it's maybe easier to do reviews and publishing, etc. We did some modeling changes and some editorial changes. So going ahead as well, so on the right side, you can see kind of how we group the features, but this is just initial proposal, so we will discuss on the mailing list. And for hackathons, we are planning 2 things. One is to continue CIMAP modeling for all these gaps, and if there are candidate approaches, to kind of implement them and compare them, evaluate them, and also CIMAP in knowledge graph. We want to test all the different external relationships that are important. Now we have it with inventory, we'll have with new versions, then we want to continue with anomaly, etc. So thanks everyone. If you have any questions or issues or feedback on either CIMAP modeling or CIMAP in knowledge graph, please contact any of the authors after this meeting or by email. Thank you.
So thank you, Olga. So a couple of things. So I have to do the Shepherd write-up. That should be a formality after what we've done. I mean, the back and forth. So that should be good. So after that, my HDAD will review that. And, you might have to do another round or two of updates. And after that, it would go to the IESG. Regarding CMAP Yang, so I haven't paid too much attention to that because we already have a bunch of other working group documents to pay attention to. So has there been lots of eyes on that document, or has it been mostly author-driven and not much feedback up to now?
The document was driven by the gaps from the requirements, but we were focusing on closing all issues of this document, so to be able to kind of have a focus on the modeling approach when the requirements are agreed. So we have initial proposals there, but they're really kind of there for the start of the discussion to get involved more people. And our goal would be to engage more people and to find people who are interested in reviewing the modeling and coming with some feedback.
So based on the latest changes you did to the CMAP Yang doc, do you think that document is in a state that it can be reviewed by more people, or do you need to do more updates before we get to that phase?
I think at the moment, I would prefer that we discuss each of the requirements on the mailing list individually. Maybe it's too much to review the whole Yang document in one go. Our goal was to kind of start with the most important requirements and then just send the snippets to the mailing group, so that people will engage. I'm worried that if there is a 51-page document that people will be discouraged to review it, but any advice is welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Orange. First of all, yeah, many thanks to Olga, I would say, for the dedication of the hard work we are putting on this document to have something which is really stable. I think that we have a good document in terms of defining the concept and what are the potential, I would say, of this concept and how it's actually to graph to other concepts that are useful for the network management. That's for the first part. Now that we'll be starting, I would say, the concrete implementation or realization of the CMAP itself. As you know, we have two proposals on the table right now. The one that you are proposing with the starting from the base topology and then enhance it with the CMAP functions. And as we will be having, I would say, later in this session, the other approach starting from the TS, which is more rich and then try to profile it and trim it to, I would say, to come to something that will be satisfying the CMAP options. I think that for the sake of saving everyone, I would say, time and energy, I think that I would really recommend that for the working group, for the starting point, to decide actually on which one to, I would say, to adopt, or at least put the two teams, I would say, just to try to be working as a team, because otherwise we'll be repeating the same discussions again and again. So just for saving your time and energy, and for the others as well, whether we have the discussion at the, I would say, an architectural level to say, yeah, these are the features. I start from here. I want to converge arrive at that time. What is the gap there? And do the same exercise from the other approach that TS, and see if people here in the room, at least in the NMOP, and I really like to have more operators chiming here rather than having single, I would say, contributors from single affiliation and so on. This is nothing against the people who are really contributing, because we are a voluntary-based organization. I'm really glad to see people contributing to this. But having more eyes, I would say, from the people who will be really deploying this will be really helpful as a working group to produce something that will be useful and implementable in the rail networks. That's at least the, I don't know, for the chairs, I think this is also something that's need to be, I would say, considered, trying to help coach this a bit, because this is beyond technical matters at some point, and we make to make a decision early in the process rather than just leaving it later on.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Matt. Thanks.
Mahesh, I think what Rishad was trying to get to is try to figure out what's the best way to move this forward. And in support of what Med said, I think the more eyes on the document, the better. So even if it's a rough concept, I would say instead of sending snippets where you might miss the concept of the entire model, send what you have, try to get feedback on the model, and that would be my suggestion as a way to move forward.
Thanks.
Thank you. Rishad, anything you want to add?
No, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Thomas.
Hello, everyone. I would like to present some updates on the message broker integration draft and also mainly report what's happening at the hackathon and go a bit more in detail than the time was allowed on the hackathon presentation itself. So from a document update perspective, there were only a couple of minor changes. So in the overview, we got comments that the consumer and the message and the producer should be outlined a bit more detailed. So we added them on the diagram, and also some of the terms which the document itself defines, we added in the terminology section. And since we also added in the schema registry context, we are now putting the Yang features into context. So because depending on which Yang features are being enabled, the Yang schema tree is changing. So we updated that section in the schema registry. And at the very end, we detailed on the milestone section in the appendix what actually was the state on the implementation side of the IETF 125 hackathon. What's still missing is the security and operations consideration section. So we intend to do that by the next IETF. Otherwise, we believe that the document is ready. Now, focusing on the implementation. So in this hackathon, you will notice in yellow marked that basically we are now moving further up the chain. So our main focus was the producer, consumer, the Yang validation part, schema registry aspect. And we have with libyang and YangKit, two Yang libraries we are using and steadily extending to fit our use cases. Everything is on GitHub. So there on this link, you will find for the different system components. In each components, you find packet capture, JSON, logs, also some descriptions depending on like which implementation, what has been implemented, and I will detail that in these slides. So starting with the publisher, you know already from the past IETF meetings, we have basically the RPC calls where you can add, remove subscriptions for each implementation. And we have the notifications and as a PCAP, but also as a transformation after the basically when the receiver is receiving. That's the feature coverage in this IETF. You see in green marked, we have with Arcos a new implementation, which is supporting Yang push, UDP notif, distributed notif, the envelope, but also the system capabilities, including the transport aspect. I added also now this slide because we started besides having just a Yang push implementation, we have also now vendors started in implementing for operational metric IETF models. You will notice in the upcoming IETFs that this list will get longer and longer as we pass on. Right now, the main, I would say, coverage is around IETF interface, IETF hardware, IETF alarms, and IEEE LLDP. On the brackets, on 6-wind, we were not able to do all the tests there, so therefore I keep that open for the moment. Now moving on to the more, let's say, exciting aspects, so to the young push receiver side. So in the hackathon directory, you will find basically a description how NetGoes is organizing the subscriptions. So there, like on a Yang push publisher, you have a so-called Yang content ID. That Yang content ID is basically for the entire Yang data store, while the receiver now organizes that for a set of subscriptions sharing the same Yang schema tree. So he creates this ID, and within this ID, basically it obtains all through the Yang library of the Yang push publisher, all modules and its dependencies, and basically stores that within a models directory. For that shared schema tree, it creates its own Yang library. So basically then with that Yang library and the set of modules, it can create the Yang schema tree and perform the schema validation against the notifications. If you have any questions, please interrupt me or come to the mic at any time. Moving on to the next, going more northbound towards the schema registry. So this is just an example. So we have two examples in the directory for, I believe it's IETF alarms and IETF interface, if I'm not mistaken, where you see in the screenshot below, that's basically the schema 516, which has been registered, and all the dependencies to its submodules. And 560 then, you will see later, is being used when the message is being serialized as a producer to the message broker itself. That leads me to the message broker. So here we are showing just in the trace logs how basically we can troubleshoot. We have for each, so in a Yang push notification message, we have a so-called sequence number, and in this trace log, we are basically logging for each sequence number, so basically for each notification, not only the so-called cache content ID I was sharing before, but also the schema ID, so we know basically how the translation is being performed. Going to the consumer, and if you look at the directory, you will notice that it's very similar organized than the receiver itself. The only difference is since this time we don't have a cache content ID, we have a schema ID. So when basically the message on the consumer side is being received, it goes to the schema registry, obtains all the schema, stores them in for that schema ID in a modules directory, generates a Yang library, and then the same way as in the receiver, it uses that model directory and the Yang library and validates the messages again. So here, I would say under a normal operator, he would not validate the messages twice. Normally, either you choose to do that already on the receiver side, so before the messages are being produced, or you go for the option to do the validation on the consumer side. Now that was the first implementation with NetGoes. We have a second implementation with Cisco Crossworks. So the difference between the two is in NetGoes, we are using libyang for the schema validation, where in the Cisco Crossworks, they opted for Yang Kit. And here in these slides, and we are describing basically how Cisco Crosswork on the Yang message broker consumer side is organizing the basically the Yang modules per schema ID. Here, during the hackathon, we noticed that Yang structure support was missing in Yang kit, and Scott from Cisco contributed to the project there. So now we have to state that the schema validation for basically the structure components in the telemetry message is working. What's currently missing is the so-called AnyData validation support. So this is the message broker status which we currently have. So we have the telemetry message support in NetGoes and PMA-CCT. Both of them also support the Yang push receiver for UDP Notif. We have the schema retrieval through netconf get schema, which is supported by NetGoes. It can act also as Yang message broker producer. And we have with NetGoes also a test consumer to validate the end-to-end chain. It supports any data validation. So this has been merged in the latest devel release of libyang. And we have with Apache Kafka then the Confluence schema registry, a Yang schema plugin in the schema registry, and we have test serializers for the consumer and producer implementation. In Crosswork, we have the consumer, and also we can validate the schema against the telemetry message. However, as said, we are now missing the AnyData validation, which will be up next for the next IETF hackathon. On the Sienna Blue Planet side, we also have a Yang message broker consumer and validation. However, there we were not able to finish all the tests, and we will do that after this IETF. Looking back on the previous IETF 124 hackathon, these were actually the action items, and we basically implemented the following. So we have libyang now supporting AnyData and structure, and even within AnyData, the structures are supported. Before IETF 124, we have explicitly to say libyang which Yang nodes are structures. This is no longer needed. So it simplifies a lot the use of libyang. Then we had two impediments on PMA-CCC side, which was in the last IETF 124 hackathon implementing the telemetry message. This has all been fixed. Thanks a lot, Paolo. And we have also now the Yang feature support on the schema registry side. And in it goes all the capability I was mentioning before. There are a couple of items for the next two hackathons. So we have to finish up the Sienna Blue Planet UA workflow engine tests. There are some incomplete tests on the 6-wind side. We have already started with collaboration with INSA Lyon. So Maxons Vivek is looking into the different Yang feature coverage between the different Yang libraries. We currently using libyang and Yang kit. So we are looking also into Yang tools from Open Daylight and looking what is currently being covered, what is missing to get there a good overview. And we would like to share that with the IETF community in the next IETF 126. Then the AnyData validation in Yang kit is missing. Let's say in some vendor implementation, we found that there were some mistakes on how, let's say, deviations are being described in the Yang library. They were in the import only section. So therefore, we had to do a minor workaround just to make the chain workable, and this will be removed by the next IETF. Then there are some optimizations we need to do on the Yang push receiver side. So right now, the subscription state from Yang push is not preserved across the reloads. This needs to be added. And in case the subscription state would be missing for some reason, we want to also add a capability to obtain the subscription state from the router, from the publisher. And then there are some additional optimizations on the netcom session queuing during the schema retrieval. So right now, for each subscription, the Yang push receiver is reaching out in parallel to the router, and that might not be ideal for every case. And then we want to start on the message key implementation. So right now, we are publishing all the, or we are producing all the messages into one topic. And based on the concept which we are describing in the message key document, we want to separate that now in the different topics with the appropriate addressing name concept, and also by creating dynamically the Apache Kafka topics through the Apache Kafka API. Lots of people were involved, so many thanks to everybody who was contributing and working on the hackathon. I think this was really a great effort. Any questions or comments?
Maybe I'll make some comments here. So it's great that you have more and more implementations, right? It's also perfect that you keep, an overview of all the different ones, because all these drafts are interrelated. It's great that you're also doing some tool developments. Now, I haven't had a time to check with Reshat about this, right? But when I see the plan for IETF 126-27, I'm wondering at which point in time will the document be published? And it's not that we have to publish soon, because as long as we make progress and that we keep improving and testing all this, but I'm of two minds here, right? Publishing and declaring victory at some point in time, but also keep testing, because this is the way it works. So just food for thought that I have to discuss with the AD and Reshat. Reshat, if there is something you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar question, like in terms of what's the goal line. And I don't mind what the goal line is if it's far. I just wouldn't like a goal line which keeps moving based on new things that the authors want to do. So we don't have to agree now or discuss now, but we need to decide what the goal line is. And also regarding publication, I think I noticed there's 4 normative references on netcom docs. So that has an impact on publication too. And then last, there's that one thing where I miss your email from last year, okay, Thomas, which we still need to close. I could be off base, that whole thing about NACM and all that. That is a lingering item on my side. Thank you.
Absolutely, Reshat. We will get back to that. And also, as I was mentioning, we were this time really focusing on the implementations. And based on that, we would like now to basically write the security and the operations consideration section. And I updated in the back of the slide deck all the, let's say, normative references we have. So there were slight progress compared to the past IETF. So yeah, I will come back on when the document will be ready and as emailed.
Yeah. So continue on the same, I would say, topic, and I fully agree with what Bruno mentioned, and also with Richard. I think at some point we just need to define what is actually the experiment we are carrying here. It makes sense that to continue, because this is something which is really never ended, because we are each time identifying new issues, things that are really missing, problems with existing specifications, things that are indeed frozen in the specification but does not comply with what we want to deploy and so on. So this is something which is really iterative. And so at some point we need just to stop and to say, yeah, we froze it here, we can release this point and then move to a next iteration of the experiment. That's in terms of the theory. But in practice, if you want, I would say, to publish, I would say, the document, we have the dependencies on the other documents there. So even if the NMOP decides to send this document, for example, to the AG, because this is the experimental document that we want to do, the document will be just stale and be waiting for in the RFC editor queue and so on. So I think there is some engineering to be done in terms of the documentation itself. We need to be a little bit wise on the pieces that will be put in there. Maybe that's one way to define the experiment. That is that maybe we will be stopped in what you have documented in 6 months before, and the other pieces that are still under development, we can have them as part of the next version of the experiment. So I would really like that we can, I would say, leverage on what we have done so far, show that we are progressing and aligned with the spirit we had for the NMOP. Is that this is, we have the experimental work, we have running code, we show it works. We also show when it is failing. That means that, and this is something which is reported back, I would say, in the RFC 3035 update that we are working on, is that if there are specifications here in the IETF that are not suitable to what we want to achieve, we need to say so as well. That's a good, I would say, input. And please document all of this. And thank you, Thomas, again for this work.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Makes perfectly sense.
And one more thing I want to add on this is, when we created NMOP, we put in there the experiment. It was actually a new type of things in the IETF where we don't produce document. The success is whenever we have code. So on that front, it's a success already. So which one do you want?
Message key.
So just click on this. So
Can you close? Go here. Yeah. And go down number 4. So just a brief update on the message broker message key document. We concluded the, yes. So first, a small introduction into the message broker key for those who are not following. So the main focus here is really about having an addressing concept on the message broker. That means not all the Yang push subscription are ending up in the same topic. So we have an addressing concept which takes the subscription type and also the subscription path into context and produces that in different message broker topics. On the other side, it's also about indexing the data. So making sure basically that in the partitions, in the topics, that we can index that efficiently. That helps us in reducing the amount of consumed messages, because we can now directly consume the message at these messages or a subset of the messages we want. And also we can leverage for on-change subscription topic compaction to reduce the amount of messages in the topic. So this is one out of 4 message broker documents, and covers these use cases. We passed working group adoption. Thanks a lot for everybody who was commenting and reviewing, especially to Olga, Rob, and Michael. We started to address these reviews. So we added in the last iteration the schema ID, schema registry, young data consumer, and young data node as terms. We removed the dependency on RFC 9254. Were on the Yang schema identifiers, so to simplify the document. And we basically defined a new way how the message keys are being defined. And we changed the document from Yang module name to we changed the topic name from Yang module name to prefix. However, during the hackathon, we found out that is actually a bad idea because the prefix can be changed on each Yang import, and therefore is not unique across all the Yang models. So we probably will revert that change, and that's the state on the document. But now, since I just spoiled hackathon, Maxence did a great work on analyzing the document and trying to do a proof of concept and see what works and what doesn't work. So that will be the next presentation. Any questions or comments from the audience? If not, then
Thank you. Oh, we've got Rob in the queue. Rob?
Hi, hi. Sorry, I seem to have lost my voice. It's only because it's on the slide. What's the opinion for the working group in terms of module name to prefix? I think using module name is the right thing, or something similar. The observation you had there that the prefix isn't unique is the right one. So I think module name probably has to be the answer here.
exactly, yeah. Makes sense.
And the other thing that's sort of worth saying on that same point is that where like XML used prefixes, that was okay because they bound it to a namespace, which is then unique. But it feels like Yang has moved away from using prefixes towards module names because the uniqueness or is sort of guaranteed.
I see.
Even though it's longer.
Thanks, Rob.
Hi, I'm Maxence, UNC. I did the message key, message broker POC during the hackathon. So here are the results. I'm speaking on the behalf of the whole hackathon team, which is composed of Thomas Graf, Wanting Du, Pierre-François, and myself. I also want to thank Ahmed El Hassani, which also worked on this POC and gave us really good insights before the hackathon. So yeah, quick recap of the draft. Thomas just presented the draft, so I'm going to be quick. Basically, we're taking an IETF telemetry message. We're taking the Yang push subscription part, and from that Yang push subscription, we are using this subscription filter to derive a unique broker topic name and a broker message key so that we can do the topic compaction basically and get the latest state of each key. So the current document proposal for the broker topic naming, basically the idea is to take the XPath filter, find the absolute schema node ID, which you have an example here from the document. You take the interface/interface. You replace all the slashes by underscores, and then you prepend the project name, the environment, so that prod or dev or something. The subscription type, which you derive from also the Yang push subscription part of the IETF telemetry message. You then append the Yang word, and then the module prefix, and finally the absolute schema node ID. For the broker message key, you take the same XPath filter. You also take the absolute schema node ID. If that points to a list, you append the list key identifier. So for interfaces, the key for the list is name, so you append that. And then you append the key value. So if you are getting the interface called ETH0, you append that. We found a few issues. Here is the list. I'm not going to go over the list now. I'm going to go for each item. You have references as well for issues that were open on the GitHub page of the document with a bit more details on some of those issues. So first, the broker topic naming restrictions. For some message brokers like Kafka, the length of the topic must be under 249 characters, and it can only be composed of alphanumeric, underscore, dashes, and dots. And it is, you get a warning when you create a topic which contains both the underscores and the dots, because there's some, Kafka will confuse if dots and underscores, basically. The Yang identifiers, they are composed of alphanumeric, underscores, dashes, and dots, but they don't have maximum size restriction. So a safe mapping is, in the general case, most likely impossible, right? You have more restrictions on the topic naming than you have on the Yang identifiers. So we believe that the collision avoidance must be proposed for this document. Okay. Second issue is that you can have in the IETF telemetry message XPath filter, or you can also have a subtree filter. And in the document, the topic name derivation is only specified for the XPath filter, so that's we're missing this part of the subtree filter derivation. Also, a subtree filter can return multiple routes as a result. So what should be the absolute node ID then? That needs to be figured out. And there's also the message key format, which is not fully defined. Should it include the Yang module prefix or not? From the examples, we also see that the separator is slashes, but it's not specified explicitly. So it would be nice just to get like a sentence for this one. And we're missing the data store, so you can get collisions basically on the same topic for this one for different data stores. You have also the key derivation that is slightly underspecified for the lists. It is defined for basic lists. Basically, you append the key identifier, you append the value of this key for an element. But what about lists that are nested into other lists, or lists that use multiple keys? We also need maybe key name sanitization in case you get something that is not available for a key or topic name. Fifth issue, the XPath is more expressive than just a simple path. Basically, the XPath is is coming from XML. It's really expressive. You can get really fancy with it. For example, if you put double slashes, you can match anything in the tree that matches this expression. You can also do unions. So it is not specified in the document what happens when you get unions or double slashes or predicates with functions or predicates that do not have as a filtering the key of a list. So deriving the name of the key of the list is you need to get to the Yang module. Basically, that is not said in the document. The sixth issue we found, the topic derivation might contain module prefixes. So RC 7950 section 14, an absolute schema node ID is basically node identifier separated with slashes, and a node identifier might contain or not, that is optional, the prefix with columns. The column character is not allowed in some message broker topic names, such as Kafka. So that is also something that needs to be resolved. Number 7 is the key derivation with the attribute select. So that's the character of an XPath. This is allowed in XPath. I haven't seen this used with Yang modules or Yang data, but it is part of the XPath specification. The behavior is not specified in the draft, so that would be nice just to get a sentence for this one. Number 8, there are no mentions of what happens when you have different Yang module revisions or features. Maybe there's an impact, maybe there's not. There's probably an impact for example, broker topic name or the key derivation. So if there is an impact, it would be nice to also get some mention of those Yang module revisions and features. Number 9, Thomas already talked about this one, but the latest version of the drafts tries to reduce the size of the topic name to fit the 249 characters by replacing the name of the module with the prefix of the module. On import, you can override that, even though it is not recommended by RFC 8497. But there might be instances where you get into some collision with the prefixes. So you need to override that prefix, and then it doesn't. It's not unique anymore in the set of the whole Yang modules you're using. So that also needs to be discussed in the document. Maybe avoid the prefixes since they can be overridden. So as a conclusion, we found a few gaps. The keys are usually just byte arrays in a message broker, so that is fixable. The topic names are usually a bit more restrictive, especially in Kafka, right? We saw the constraints. So that is a harder issue. We discussed some potential solutions with the authors of the draft. Maybe reducing the scope of the features supported by this draft and then falling back to manual mapping, maybe, would be something. Or non-human readable topic names, or maybe we can find general case solution to derive the topic names. As a possible optimization, we also noticed that the absolute schema node ID is part both of the topic name and also in the key, but all the keys are in the same, all the keys that contain some absolute schema node ID are in the same topic containing the same absolute schema node ID. So maybe we can optimize a bit and take away this absolute schema node ID from the key. And I think that is all. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Maxons. I think that's a very good summary on all the issues. I think that was a really great effort in doing this. And I like the conclusion side at the very end. It shows the complexity from the filtering side on the XPath and sub-tree. And I think it's the right way we should start reducing the scope there to simplify a bit. And indeed, I think I agree. The keys, I think we're going to find a solution on the topic's name. That will be a more challenging one. Also interesting is with the BMP telemetry message, we are also defining now ways of an addressing concept and keying for BMP, and we got on the mailing list interesting feedback there. So this will be probably also something we need to consider in the next iterations. Thanks.
Alex Insalian, I just want to first thank you for all this analysis. I think this is very useful for the draft. And also I see that there are a lot of issues that are related to the XPath complexity, which in practice, to my understanding, it's not really widely implemented. And I wonder whether the project from Rob in regards to the Yang path, I think he calls it, would also be solving that part, simplifying the XPath filtering for all Yang related issues. So that might be something to look for.
Yeah, definitely the XPath is too expressive for Yang.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and that would be nice. Yeah. Oh.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is Paolo from NMOP, speaking on behalf of the co-authors. We are presenting BMP Young model for the message broker integration. I have a lot of slides that are very useful for context, but in the interest of time, I will focus on the idea, what is BMP, what are the challenges, the use cases, and the next steps. So first of all, what is the idea? The idea is that we have BMP, which is the BGP monitoring protocol, and it travels information from an exporter, like a router, to a collector. And then at the collector, what we want to do is to transform these BMP messages, which are binary format, into Yang, so that they can go onto a broker, they can go on a data pipeline, and verification and validation can be performed just like we did learn with Yang push. Since this is an NMOP and BMP belongs to the GROW working group, for who is not familiar with BMP, so what it is about. So we have traditionally been using BGP to monitor itself, which is probably not the best idea. And so we could, you know, with that trick, we could, and a little bit of black magics, we could monitor like lock rib. But we have a lot of other vantage points in BMP, like agile being, agile out, when we apply policies and things like that. And in order to do that, we could only resort to screen scraping. So with the BMP, essentially, we have a monitoring protocol that allows us to monitor all of these vantage points. And on top of that, being a monitoring protocol, we have also timestamping and all other features. Okay. So I will skip a few slides here, and I will go actually to this one. All the other slides are super useful for reference. Okay, they describe the mechanics, right, and the challenges of this integration. So essentially, we have a message broker that sits beyond the BMP collector. Message broker, it's like it has channels. We call them topics in, for example. And then these topics can be further, split into partitions, right? In BMP, we have a number of messages. So we have the route monitoring, but there are peer up, peer down, and things like that. So there is the problem of mapping messages to channels, and then from channels to index these messages to partitions. And Thomas was referencing a little bit before the message key. Essentially, the message key draft essentially handles a little bit that problem. So now the use cases, manual consumption. So from a network engineer, of course, automation, closed loop, and then of course, resolving applications like from network management, anomaly detection, policies generation, and things like that. So now we have a number of open questions, and this is why I am skipping the slides so to allow for Q&A. So the first thing is that do you resonate with this approach, right? So we have the BMP protocol, but for example, we have IPFix, which is already in our radar. So we have this protocol between an exporter, so a router, and the collector, and then we transform is into YANG to go on a data pipeline. The second thing is that, BMP belongs to the GROW working group, IPFix in the OPSA working group, but all the message broker integration is being done in the NMOP. So let's say that you think there is merit in this work, do you also agree that this work should be taking place in this working group? And then there is also, we introduce like this IETF BMP BGP reentry module. And essentially like this is reusing some parts of the BGP module that is defined at IDR. So we have, let's say, a couple of open questions also there. So first of all, we propose some let's say, improvements or some changes to this module. And we are in touch with the authors of this module to see what is the timeline, the status, and things like that. On top of that, like what we are also trying to do is to extend, so the BGP module focuses on IPv4 and IPv6 unicast, but we would also like to go in through layer 3 VPNs, layer 2 VPNs, labeled unicast. What are the next steps? So there is a lot, work still to do. So first is that, like I was mentioning before, BMP has several message types. So we have to flesh out all the different message types and how they map to the different topics. And of course, we have also to do work implementing all of this. We are already working on these topics for the past 2 hackathons, and I would say we have been learning a lot. Also, from the young push experience that then we are then putting into BMP right now. And that's it. I have beautiful slide that Young loves Kafka and BMP probably IPFix soon. Questions?
Mahesh speaking as a contributor and author of the IETF BGP base module. The Thomas and I have discussed this along with Jeff and the other authors on the base model. I did start the work on trying to convert the BGP RIB attributes and RIB tables in a way to make it available for other documents to be able to include. It's a bit of a work. I just broke the whole model making that change. So give me some time. I'll take a look at it after this meeting, not next week, but the week after, to see how much of work it is. Just realize that there is a lot of pressure right now from PBF and their liaison to publish the module as is, because they have been waiting for it. So we have some conflicting requirements on the model, but I'll say we'll do the best.
Fantastic, thank you.
Rashad is on the list now.
Rashad.
Yeah, so this is more a technical question than a procedural one. So there was discussion on the list. I think Thomas replied regarding ordering of messages when you put the when you split the messages. And I think there's 7 different types of BMP messages. So I'm assuming there would be 7 different topics. And Thomas replied saying, well, it's the same as in Quick. So how do you handle the going from ordering when you as a consumer? Do you look at the timestamp or?
Well, there is a few different things. So I would say, first of all, we will figure that out. In fact, as I was saying, we have a lot of work ahead of us. One idea that is being floated in the Grow working group is actually to add the sequence numbers to BMP. It will be actually a feature of BMP version 4. So looking at sequence numbers could be, the most intuitive answer I would give you.
But if your messages on different topics,
yeah,
that means you need to go hunting around for the next one.
Yeah, no, on that one, I agree with you. Like we have exactly the same issue with Quick, and we are figuring out what is the best way to figure out.
Okay, thank you.
To map messages onto topics. Yeah.
Thank you, Paulo, for the presentation. So as a responsible ED for the Grow working group, I have a preference, I think, that to have this work done here in NMOP, because the need is start from here, and the expertise that we'll be needing is more, I would say, in this room rather than in Grow. Obviously, we'll be having people from Grow, shimming into the BMP specific and so on. So yeah, please, if we can just simplify and try to continue here as if there is some consensus from this work to work on it, and try to include Grow when you have a need for that one. I think that's for at least for the more technical aspect. I fully agree that there is a need to have means to ease correlating, I would say, between channels, have some common data model structure then, and then we can anchor on them. Today it may be BMP and IPFix. Tomorrow it can be something else. So please think again, Yang structure.
Sure. Thank you for your comment.
Maybe just one comment on the conversation previously with Reshad. So one option definitely is the sequence number. Another option is the message ordering is actually preserved within a partition. So if we do the keying and also the naming concept correctly, basically we could leverage that. And I think we should definitely learn from Quick what they are doing, because at the end they are solving more or less the similar problem, right? And then On the other point, thanks Mahesh, when we were authoring the document, we noticed a lot of work has been done on the BGP model. And it's really nice that, I mean, if we can reuse all that work, this is also I think it's a great thing to do it this way, because otherwise to defining all those BGP semantics, that would be quite a challenge from our side. So thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah. Michael Mackey, Huawei. Sorry, something occurred to me while you were giving your presentation. Has there been any work done to figure out the size of the Yang push messages on BMP and IPFix versus the existing way? You know, is it bigger? Is it smaller?
No.
No.
And why you?
Just the volume of data, you know.
Okay,
So I know,
okay.
for instance, like with IPFix data on Huawei devices, it has to be sent in band because it's huge,
Right.
huge
right.
volume. If you're making the message bigger, that might become an issue.
Sure. No, it's a very good point. I am not aware there has been any analysis on that. Thank you.
So we're kind of 5 minutes over already. We need to be mindful of the time.
Yes, we are. So Matt, feel free to come, and the timer is already running. No stress. And then deck is being shared now for some time. I'm wondering if there's an issue. So feel free to introduce the topic anyway.
Yeah, so for this slot is, I would say, to try to have a discussion on the what we are doing about the update of the operator requirements, to refresh what we used to have, I would say, in the RFC 3535. So what we have done so far is that we have a stable version of a list of operator requirements. That one was gathered from various venues. Here in the IETF from a bunch of operators. Thank you all of you for, I would say, the kind contributions and helping us to have that list there. We also included, I would say, from inputs from Nano, Grip, and also during the NMOPs workshop. So once we have gathered all that material, digested it, structured it, try to have some prioritization, because if you have all this digest of requirements, it's really difficult to say that, yeah, from where we will be starting. Because if you just, I would say, have this list unordered, we will be, I would say, losing focus. And there is really a need to have something which is really implementable and aspect, and also to focus on aspect that makes sense for most of our operators. So that's why, with the help again, with the input from various operators, if I'm not mistaken, we have more than 6 operators who are really share their individual assessment of the requirements. So we ended up with a summary of. Yeah, we can just move to the next. So we have the prioritization of that list. As you can see, we have, I won't be going into all of them, 24 requirements with a level of prioritization that is agreed between the operators who accepted to do this job. That list is stable for some time now. And in addition to that, because we know how things are really moving, it's good and great to have the voices from operators. This is not happening so far, but all the time, it's great that we will having this time. But in order to put it into effect, we need also to hear from the others, from the vendors, from the researchers, from all of you in this room. And for that one, what we trying to do here is try to find something balanced and filter the long list of requirements we are having here from operators, and try to say, is there something that we can sketch as a set of very focused recommendations, so that here in the IETF we can provide, I would say, implementation for those. And when we are seeing that implementing those, that means that's not only in NMOP that will be providing this solution. This can be everywhere in the IETF. This can be restructured. It can be in your working group. There can be new work that we'll be doing, or this can be just changing the way we are doing the work. So this is the status. But now we have to map this with the contract we are having with you as a working group. We have a working group charter, and that charter, what tells us is that the working group is mission to give us an updated list of operators. So that job for us is done. Does that mean that the stable list of the operator requirements is there, the prioritization is there? So the question for the working group is, do you want us to continue in the other items that we are just providing to you as a bonus because we think this is important, but this is only us as authors, but you as working group, do you want us to extend the scope a bit so that we can have that part of the work be done? And I will pause here to have feedback and some discussion from the working group.
All right, I'll give my feedback. Actually, as an AD, what do you believe we should be doing? Because all of these are somehow creating new work somewhere else. It's maybe creating a working group, it's maybe having a buff, it's maybe reaching out, and everything is on the table. So maybe not as an author, but as an AD for two ADs, what do you think is the right way forward?
Oh, no, I changed the hat now.
Yes, please.
Actually, yeah, this is really important because we need to be really pragmatic. And I would say, if we want to do something concrete again, we have this whole list. We need to have something really focused. And that thing which is really focused, that we see that people here in the IETF, they want to put time and energy to work on it, something which is really concrete and actionable. So that item for me is really important because this kitchen direction for future transformation. We already started to do some of those, by the way, and they will be shown later on. But for me, this is really important. But this is me as an ED. But as an author, we have a charter, we have a mission, and then that's why I wanted to have this also feedback from the working group.
And I will just add, so we spoke about the first item and the experiment and how long we want to keep it, and you have to declare victory, right? So this is exactly the same thing here. Please go ahead.
You're not in the queue. The document explained a real problem. I already commented in the list, but Matt, I wonder if you could have a few bullet of action item to make it obvious what's the next step. I think I'm summarizing a little bit what Benoit, but I was just trying to get to the mic. Maybe that's the next step here is really what should I do? What should we do? And where the work should be going. So it's more tangible.
Thank you, Dan.
I think Dan just gave me the segue. Yeah, so just wanted to give an example, like the network-wide schema. We've been like in Yang push, we have been adding the host name, the sequence number, all that. You heard in the previous discussions that actually the sequence number we are also adding now in BMP. So it's kind like in that area, it's kind of already actually happening.
Yeah.
So, Mahesh speaking as the co-AD, I want to support what Matt just said. All these are very well high prioritized items, but really no work in IETF gets done without a contribution. So it really will come down to who has the interest, who's willing to put the work behind it to make it happen. Meta and I have only so many cycles we can spend in supporting, and we are in some sense supporting some of the items coming out of this workshop. But really, to answer Dan, your question, priority is what you decide to be your priority and bringing it to the working group based on the list that's already out there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing so far is that we need to work on this consolidated, I would say, list. So that's really great to hear. So we will be continuing this. So yeah, let's start with a small list. It's 1/3 of what we have, I would say, from the list of the operators, trying to structure it a bit to have a story there. So I won't be reading all the items. They are really there. But what I will be just doing is just to show you how we'll be mapping out the various items and the consolidation requirement that we have there with what we have already started to do. You will be see there for the point 1 and for point 8 there. This is why we have started Onion at the first place, is to solve exactly this kind of problems. Now this is onsen and so on. There is a second item. This is the velocity, and one of us. This won't be the only solution for that one, but this is under that objective. The one about focusing on implementing a minimal set of function rather than having something which is really perfect, complete, and so on. I'm really glad to see that Rob is trying to push the young push light, for example. For me, this is an example of things that we need to do. We need to trim the complexity because many of the features we are having there and are not really justified by operational need. But for operators, this introduces a lot of complexity in terms of testing, validation, and so on. And even this is misspecified, and there's a lot of bugs that are there. So this is really important, that point 3. I don't know concretely what are the list of items that will be implemented at one, but I am really glad that we are starting to do this. At least for some of the working, for NetConf and NetMod, for example, I would personally would really like that we'll be having some profiling of the protocols we are having. We have a lot of functions, features, and so on. Not all of them are really useful and usable. If we have something to say, yeah, for the operator, for example, this is the common part that I really want, and provide that as a profile, just a guidance for the others. This will be driving the vendors and the implementers, and we know that this is the common ground that it will be really worth for us if we want to progress in this area. There are other items, for example, the one, the number 9 there. That means that, yes, we are doing something here in the IETF, but this is just one aspect of the problem. There are other aspects of the problems that are not done here. So we need to bridge what we are doing here with what is done in the outside. I'm just providing the example of the work which is done here in the NMOP about opening the discussion about the knowledge graph, for example. This is for me really important because not only on the topic itself, but because we are acquiring new skills and new topics, and also we are changing the perspective that we are looking into the network management. And this is really something that we need to do. It's not, I would say, something which is short term, but this is something we need to push in, I would say, midterm, so that we can prepare that unsettling of the issues. The same story about the all the expertise we are bringing, the work done by Thomas, for example, data mesh and so on. These are normally the skills that are not here present in the IETF, and we need to bring that here. We need to find the home for it, nurture it, help it, support it, encourage it, and also be catalyst for that. And this is something which is not be done by only individuals, but also be, I would say, by the leaders, but you also as a working group. We have the work that we are trying to filter a bit. We don't know if there is something to be done, but I am sure there are aspects. And what we have heard, for example, this week from the operators during the ops area, about all this, about EI network operation, there are specific needs there. So far, they started to be vague, but there are some proposals on aspect that start to be resonating with me in terms of concrete and tangible actions, and we need to continue that one, helping filter down and focusing better on something that will be really useful for us. There are other items that are really procedural for us. Mahesh, we are already doing this and trying to push in many of the working groups, for example, inside Europe recently, we are insisting on the implementation. This is something that's, yeah, when you will be doing specifications here for the network management, please make sure that we have something which is showing exactly what you are specifying. The code should be first and then the paper. Paper shouldn't be a target per se. That's be good to have your name there and so on, but this should not be the end of the game and the purpose of the game. So changing that spirit in the way we are doing and developing specification is really a change of the mindset of us. And collectively, we have to push for this, value people that are coming here with the, I would say, software knowledge, and try to push that to be a really part of our process, and not just to say that, yeah, I'm just producing an RFC and this is the end. No, producing an RFC is just to start. You have to go there, implement it, test it, and come back. The C part of the RFC is a request for comment. This is not something which is frozen. That means that nothing is perfect there. It's just a start, play with it, you may obsolete it, base it, update it, whatever. And we should be really flexible on this, insist on it. And now with my hat as an ED, this is something I'm really trying to push. And we are pushing this in multiple of our working group. And I would really like that the community for the network management and the operation are really endorsing this. There are other items I would say that are on the list. I won't give it to them. Some of them we don't have, I would say, concrete with or a recipe to do this. If I say that, yeah, I have the vendors and the operators work together, yes, that's good, but we can facilitate this in terms of organizing meeting and so on. But concretely, it depends on all of you. You have to make, I would say, an effort to come to understand the requirement from the others and also the reality of and the challenges of support in some of the products. Yes, nothing all is not for free. There's a cost in terms of re-architecting the product, and cost also in terms of the money that will be put in there. There is the item there which is really important about the compliance. This is not something we are doing here in the IETF, because we see that, yeah, this is not compliance, it's for the others. But for me, this is important for interoperability, and we need to find some new ways to do this. I won't be providing you an example to do it, but we need to do it, and we need to find a way to do that one. I know that Ian, for example, behind there, he started many years ago about having this list of all the Yang models, for example, that are really important. This is really an important exercise that we need to do, because it is giving a signal that, yes, if I want to provide that service, this is the subset of tools that I know that are really important for that. The point 7, this is exactly what Paolo presented. It's about correlating data that we can be, I would say, convening in various channels. This is not just something which is specific to the keys that you are having there, but each time when we think about reusable data structure, that means that you are opening for the future, and you are not looking your own case. You are not specifying for your own case, but you are opening it for the others. OPSA working group, again, they provided an example for this. When we have specified the informational models using Yang this time, this is the first time we are doing this. Why? Because we want it to be open for various, I would say, interoperable, because various data models, Yang, IPv6, name it, and so on. So this is the current list we are having. We think that is just a subset. The question for the room here is this, should we trim it? Should we extend it? Is there something which is missing? Should we change the approach? And we are really open for the discussion with the room.
Any comment?
I think I forgot to join the queue, but anyway, yeah, Ian Farrer. I like the list that we have at the moment. I think all of the things on there are very worthy goals. The how is going to be a little bit more tricky in this case, and I think there's going to need to be some improvisation and some experimentation. I like the way you've mapped these to the different work groups, but there's 3 in the middle there that are notably not mapped to anything. Is this just a feature of how you would do work in ONSON or the other work groups that you mentioned there?
Actually, I just trying to provide that this is not something which is a dream. This is something which is already happening. And I'm just trying to map it, I would say, to concrete action that we are already doing there to see that, yeah, that's examples for it. This may be inspiring others. When, for example, I am showing there that the second item, that this is velocity, this does not mean that this is already solved. And even if you put velocity into effect, does not mean that this one doesn't apply anymore, because this one actually, each time, you have to apply it. Velocity is just one tool for it. And we will have other association of this one. For example, Mahesh, he mentioned the example about BGP model. It's there for more than 10 years. We should not be continually doing like this for data models, for example, if we want to have something which is really usable and implementable by the others. This is something I see that's, again, mindset change and the way we are doing the work. This will be really efficient if we collectively endorse it. That's the point.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there with mindset change, and you know, that's definitely what I want to see. Yeah, need to work out how we can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Ian.
Thank you. So yeah, c'est bon.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations for making it to Friday. I'll be really quick. I don't need 10 minutes, I don't think. So this is just an update. We had a knowledge graph design team. We've been meeting regularly, actually, and this is just maybe an update on what we've been doing. Okay. So just a quick note, like we were attending many meetings here. Knowledge graphs are mentioned in a lot of places. There was two examples there from China Mobile, China Telecom at the ops area, where they were giving their architectures, and it's central for their agents. At the agent ops side meeting, there was numerous mentions of knowledge graphs and as maybe a possible place to collaborate on and stuff to work on. So this is genuinely a problem. This is something people are either implementing or thinking about implementing. What we did for the hackathon is kind of building on stuff we did in the past. So we created some tooling. You know, tooling is a big issue. We mentioned in terms of onsen as well. And even some of the stuff that Med was just talking about there about trying to understand the structures, semantics, relationships, how everything fits together. We created a nice UI that allow you to load Yang schema or instance data as XML or JSON. You can browse it, you can look at it, you can do all sorts of clever things with it. We even have a graph query interface. You can just browse it as a graph. And actually, for Olga mentioned, for CMAP, we showed how you could discover missing relationships that should be there and maybe even add them into the knowledge graph independently. So, you know, this is something we're going to work with going forward. Olga mentioned, you know, future hackathons with CMAP, which kind of brings me to the design team as such. So this was what was agreed to be the next steps at in Montreal. You know, is the scope of the problem is well defined and understood, and that is people generally understand that the working group will work on. So these three things were given to us by Benoit from you know the BOF, but just as a kind of a way to figure out that is this something that we could all work on together, and the outcome is there's no consensus. So right now, the design team is not going to meet anymore. It doesn't mean that this is not a problem. I've just shown you how there was more than one mention of this sort of stuff in IETF this week. It just means that right now there's nothing that people want to cooperate on, essentially. It doesn't mean that this will go away. So we have these drafts. They are valuable. They are interesting. Everybody that's read them likes them. So we are going to put it in the independent submission with the help of the chairs. I don't really understand that, but they do. So thanks very much. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. So as a member of that team, because I'm a member of that draft, I think this is very sad because we saw it coming, the need for this. And somehow what Matt presented just before is exactly that. But it illustrates the point that you made, Dan, that, or Ian, I don't remember, that it's not because you've got to list a list of things that we know we have to work on, it's going to happen magically. If the people involved in this knowledge graph don't have the willingness to cooperate on something, then that's it, doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for, I would say, providing the summary of the discussion you had with the team, and also for, I would say, sharing at least the conclusion or that for the next steps that from that group. But that is a conclusion of that group, not the decision of the NMOP working group.
Yeah, that group. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's, for me, I would separate this. That means that we have, I would say, documents there, drafts that are there, hackathons that are several times right now that are for almost 2 years right now that are shared with this working group, showing that there is something that can be experimented with, play with, and solving something that is grafted to the other work that we are doing in this working group. SIMAP as an example, and anomaly detection in another. Two pieces of the work that are done here that are today isolated, and with knowledge graph, we say that, yeah, we can go beyond this and glue the two pieces, and this is a bet, actually. You see that, yeah, we will be providing something with this direction.
I think you hit the nail on the head. So I think the problem with the design team, this is my personal opinion and not the opinion of the design team. My own personal opinion on the design team was that the problem was too broad. Very like the side meeting on AI agents on Wednesday. We had 4 operators present 4 completely different use cases because the problem is huge.
Yes.
You know, and it's the same issue with the knowledge graphs. The problem was just too huge. So focusing on 1 or 2 problems, that's what we are going to do with CMAP going forward. So we're not going away. We're going to still do something there. There won't be a design team.
Yeah. That's why I say that we need to separate, I would say, the design team with the discussion of the working group. Design team, they can make their decisions. Does not mean reflect the consensus in the NMOP. Saying that the design team declare failure does not mean that this work will declare failure in the NMOP working group. I'm separating the term purpose with my hat with ED this time. I think that's the exercise and also the presentation that will be coming after about the EI and so on. And given that we are running this working group for right now, it's more than 2 years right now. We had the first priority experiment project. I would think that's there is a room to define some just a sketch of a very focused experiment on this area. Please try to bring it again to the, I would say, to the working group, discuss it to the mailing list. Try to see if people they see value in engaging on it, and try. Yeah, don't give it up, because for me it's really waste of I would say time and energy. It's really not encouraging if you are just giving it because of a given team didn't reach up. So we just need to change, I would say, the approach here. Just approach it in a different manner, and propose something concrete for the working group to look into it. And I hope for the next meeting, for example, we'll be discussing the experiment sketch and hopefully agree on it. And the same comments, I will make it for the people who are proposing, I would say, for the network management part.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
So I just wanted to add, as an observer in many of those meetings, the design team wanted to work together. I want to make that very clear. But as Michael mentioned, there's definitely the problem was too big, different angles, and thank you, Med, for what you said. This is the technology is important, as Michael said. Maybe a few months from now, other people, same people, can come up with new proposals. There's definitely openness to that. Thank you.
Very quick, because we are already in red. Diego Lopez, Telefonica. Just, I mean, it's very much agree with what Met has said. It's about probably this happened a little bit too early. And probably it's about finding some hook to which we could put the results. I can imagine I would avoid the agentic crazy hook, because that's something that can tear us apart. Too many forces into many directions. But I believe that the CMAP applicability on the one hand, and the fourth, I mean, I don't know because I'm not following it, but I keep thinking that probably the Yang 2 efforts about modeling or extending the modeling language could be a way of saying, why not we explore the space of extending semantic capabilities. To start with, I'm not saying that this is the goal, but this could be the first step.
Thanks for this.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Xin from CICT. I'm here to present my draft about the AI-based network management agent. actually is a version of 04. And okay, I want to say again about the scope and the goals of this draft. And we all know the background very well. The AI agents are very hot, and the autonomous network evolution requires the agentic capabilities. So this draft will not define the general AI agents, will not define the general agent-to-agent communication or such stuff. We are focusing on the network management agent concept, and we want to define a general framework of the agent collaboration with the existing SDN controllers. And we'll also discuss some new interface requirements after the introduction of NMA, mainly about the interface of the controllers. So we do a lot of updates since the last IETF meeting, and thanks for the comments from Rashad, like Alice, Marcos, and Chris, and other device of the other advice from the WG chair and Med and Mahesh, and thanks for you. And we also we mainly do the updates, including firstly we resolve several issues from the mailing list. We add a comparison of the two deployment modes. We add an appendix to describe the different levels in autonomous network. And secondly, we further clarify the relationship between NMA and the SDN controllers. Thirdly, we simplified and refined the description of the whole draft. And firstly, we revised we did a small revision to the functional framework of the NMA to align to the closed loop defined in TMF. So that's the main updates. And I think we already know the definition of an NMA. It equals the AI agents for network management, which has the capabilities to create autonomous closed loop. So that's the definition. And again, why NMA is required? Because we believe achieving level 4 autonomy requires a cognitive loop to extend the native design of a traditional SDN controllers. So NMA will be the brain to decide what to do and why, and the SDN controller will be the execution function to enforce those decisions on the device. So NMA will leverage the functions already in SDN controllers rather than reinventing them. So that's our opinion. And NMA is compatible with the Yang-based automation framework, and also compatible with the anomaly and incident work already done in NMOP. So this draft is kind of the enhancement of the RFC 8969, and with NMAs integrated in the controller layer and orchestrator layer. And we did a minor modification to the framework of NMA to make it more simple and more general for different operators and vendors, and also align with the 5 control loop defined in TMF, like intent, wire, analysis, decide, and execute. And about the deployment modes of NMA, we received the comments from Rachel that what's the difference of the different deployment modes. So we add more analyzation of the advantages of different scenario. Like integrated mode is more suitable for a single winner scenario, and independent mode may be more suitable for multi-domain, multi-winner scenario. And the interfaces are not changed, so I will not talk too much. And we mainly focus more on the interfaces to be extended on the SDN controller. There are 2 interfaces to be considered. The first is the northbound interface, the NBI of the controller. We need to extend its capability to realize the capability discovery and invocation between the upper and the lower layer NMAs. And we should expose NMS capabilities as intent-based RPCs, and about the southbound interface of the controller, because we believe theoretically NMS won't directly operate devices, so there may be no very strong demands of the standardization of the SVI. So it's out of scope of this draft. And I want to save more time for the discussion, so maybe that's all. And in the next, we want to continue improving the draft, and mainly on the interface part and the use case part, and to continue collecting comments and contributions from the working group. And last, we know that this draft is not perfect, but the content is quite stable. Maybe we want to request the WG to consider the adoption of this draft. And that's all. And there is a appendix about the definition of different levels in AN. You may check for reference. Okay. So any comments?
Chong Feng of China Telecom. You have mentioned that this may be an extension of IFC 18969, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd like to know whether is there any implementations or tests of this framework right now? Yeah. I mean, maybe from operators.
Yeah. Actually, we. I can't say I have any as per any practice right now, but I know China Telecom have already did some agents, like they ran network energy saving agent, and we did some test of their agent last year. So
Yeah,
their architecture is consistent with what we proposed in this draft. And
so my question is whether they follow this framework. I think maybe you can have a check or discussion with the team.
Okay. The details may not be totally same, but the framework is, I think, is consistent. Thank you.
Let's have concise feedback, please. We've got 2 minutes left.
Daniele Ceccarelli, Francisco. So I'm speaking as a co-author of the draft. I would like to seek the chairs and the AD's guidance on how to move this work forward. So unlike a lot of work that is being done in these days, which is up in the skies, etc., we tried to connect this extremely tightly to network management. This is the reason why we believe that this work could fit here. So if you have, I see Matt is already in the line, so probably is going to answer my question. But what we would like to have is some guidance.
All right. So yes, it's something that we discuss with the AD. So actually, we have the same issue here as chairs, because there is so much happening on AI these days. AI for net, management of AI agent, you name it. So yes, this is version 4. Yes, we receive feedback in the mailing list. The question to the AD is, do we open the gate and telling NMOP is the place for everything AI? And then we need like 5 hours of meetings, right? So we need guidance here.
Okay, so I will be expressing as an individual contributor. I will leave it to Mahesh as the responsibility for NMOP. I really like, I would say, what this document is trying to do here. They are trying, actually, this is for us anchoring all this discussion. This is not perfect, trying to see that, yeah, we are distorting the way we are doing network management. We don't know if we'll be changing all the ABCD components. There are some features that need to be introduced there. Let's try to look into them, have a reference so that everyone working in that area came to here and discuss in reference to this document. The other work which is proposed today about the network management, this is not something which is proposed here to the IETF. All the list of the other proposals are submitted to NMRG. That means that we don't have a lot of proposals coming here to the IETF, and for me, this is really a feature. That means that there is no divergence in terms of the documents that are proposing something with engineering in mind. And this document, for me, I really think that this is a good encore for this discussion. And the same advice I have made to Michael for the knowledge graph, I would really like us to sketch a small experiment to see that, yeah, this is what we want to do. And because for me, this is really in scope of the, I would say, NMOP. We don't have the priorities there. That means that we need to do some rechartering if we endorse this work, but we need to come up with this definition of the experiment.
Okay, very good. Please hold on. We're out of time. Can you all send your feedback to Munich, except Mahesh, who is is our AD for this working group? Sorry.
Thanks, Benoit, for putting me on the spot. To answer very specifically, the workgroup charter currently does not include work on AI. Therefore, this work, as the charter defines, cannot adopt this document. That's to be straight and blunt about it. But this is a topic that ISG is well aware of. We are trying to come to a resolution on how best to deal with all the requests that are coming. There will be meetings following this to figure out how we want to approach it. I will have an answer once ISG has put one forward. Finally, I would say for now, use the ops area meeting to bring any new proposals as they relate to AI and discussing them specifically for the ops area. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to present the main updates on the model for distributed authorization policy sharing. But first, this framework or the goal of the framework is to define a canonical way to manage and share authorization policies. We use YAN to define these policies in a matching readable way, but the policy logic itself is written using policy as code languages, which will allow us a fine granularity, while YAN carries this logic together with this metadata, enabling it to be validated, versioned, and distributed. And the idea is that by using a standardized model, this approach should be designed to support interoperability across domains, while different kind of policy engines, typically PDPs, can consume and apply the policies. The main updates will be each policy artifact model in YAN includes a description, the policy language used, this could be Rego, CEDAR, or Alpha, the policy as code logic, which is the declarative policy content. We included the owner responsible of the policy as a DURI, which will be defined by each domain. And in some cases, the policy administration point may query the policy decision point to check whether that entity is authorized to submit a policy. We also included a version for proper lifecycle management. And additionally, we included an optional provenance leaf, which is a signature with the content of the policy, and will allow us to verify the integrity of the policy, address verifiability and trust when policies are exchanged across multiple domains. And this information could even link it to the owner, enabling the provenance signature key to be verified. We also clarified that this draft is complementary with existing YAN-based approaches, for instance, the OpenConfig authorization model. And we also we have refined the draft to concentrate more on policy distribution and management rather than how the policy should like. During the hackathon, we implemented a small prototype to demonstrate the policy creation, distribution, and enforcement using the YAN-based model. In the demo, a YAN policy artifact is submitted to a policy administration point, which is in charge of validating and distributed it to the corresponding policy decision point. What we have used is OPA, Open Policy Agent. The policy logic is written in Rego, which is a specific policy as code language, and we use this policy to protect some data stored in a GraphDB. Specifically, the policy denies queries requesting the consent vendor name. So to demonstrate this, we sent several requests to AP6, which is acting as our policy enforcement point. APCs query OPA to decide to check whether the request should be authorized or not. Normal queries return the data. Query requesting the vendor name are denied. So with that, we demonstrated that the policy was created, distributed, and applied using the jam-based model. So there are some open points we will appreciate some feedback. For instance, regarding the jam model design, we define the policy language as an enumeration, which might be too restrictive as new policy as code languages appear if you know what is usually followed. But as next step, we would like to refine the jam modules, explore the integration with existing provenance mechanisms, process signatures, refine the reference implementation with multiple domains, as what we have demonstrated is the distribution of the policy with a single domain. And we are considering introducing an accounting layer to track all lifecycle operations. That's all. Thank you. I tried to.
Hi, this is Peter from Huawei. Actually, I just want to say this is a very important work because yesterday at Thursday, we have an agent security side meeting, and one of the important security consensus from that side meeting is that in order you want agents to interoperate across in different domains, you need to cross-domain authorization. And in order to achieve that, you need consistency of authorization policies across different domains. So absolutely, this is a nice abstraction, and this is a good work. We absolutely support, and maybe personally I can contribute to the work. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for respecting the time. So let's welcome Nigel while I try to find the slide. Nigel, thank you for doing the slide on time.
You mean horribly late, you mean?
But
Sorry.
the on time should not be during the meeting itself.
I realize that. I know it's very late. Apologies. So I'll just give a brief update. So this is on the framework for expressing capabilities. I've got a recap of the. Have I got slide control? That's interesting. Why not let me see the slides? Select your slides. Oh, okay, right, fine. Sorry, I'll do that quickly. Yeah, that's it. Right, there you go. So at IETF 124, we presented this brief overview indicating that understanding what a component can do is a fundamental thing in any construction, any system, how detailed it need to be, how we get to a cohesive framework expressing those details and so on. So we covered that at 125. The key thing is, it's 124, so this is 125. The key thing is stating what a component can do from a particular perspective with whatever constraints have been applied to it as a result of the security and views and so on. Since then, we've gone through the draft. We've completed the definition set. In the previous draft, there were some definitions left to be defined, so we've completed that set. We've especially enhanced the explanation of what the specification is, and one of the key processes of moving from one set level of detail to another. That's the pruning and refactoring process. We've detailed that a little bit in there. We've recognized, as everybody else has in the world, that LLMs provide a major contribution to any of this work, and looking at use of LLMs to construct specifications and the specification language itself, which is in itself quite challenging, and also an introduction to LLM's use of specifications, so how that would work. We've put an example in, oh, it's still a bit light, on a temperature sensor, so it should be something you can get your head around, because we all understand the temperature, so we live in it. And looking at the progression from a generalized thing to component to specialized function to, and this is just an example, termination point to speak type termination point. We've tried to explain that progression using the recursion of, or describing how it would be user recursion of specifications. And we're looking at, we try to look at the general application of specifications as well, and trying to explain that. So the new draft's got more detail around that. As I said here, which is what I find I do, collaborate with one or more LLMs to construct the language. As I said before, we're looking at I put TR512 in there as opposed to ITT G7711. 512's freely accessible, no passwords, nothing. So it's the same material that's in G7711 at the moment. So that was one reference on the front, but the main document 7711 TR512 from ONF covers that and modeling boundaries, which is an obsoleted or a dead draft, but there are some insights in that that are important. And then use that language as we construct it to put together examples and then explore how those examples can be reasoned over, so how the specs can be reasoned over. So that's essentially getting towards working code, which I heard mentioned earlier, and I think is very valid as a thing to be trying to achieve. We've been very poor on going to the mailing list. I know we got told we should do that. We haven't done that properly. So between now and 1 to whatever it is 5, we'll be going to the mailing list and giving regular updates and inviting discussion on this. And that's all I had to say. So any questions at all?
Any feedback, question? Thank you, Nigel.
No problem, thank you.
Right. Last but not least, Italo. So we had a buffer of 10 minutes that we've been eating during the meeting. So you've got the remaining time till 11. And you've got your 10 minutes.
Yes, I have 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, 5 minutes.
It's okay, I can stay in 5 minutes. Okay, I will be quick. Since I'm presenting on behalf of co-authors the applicability of RFC 8795 for CMAP. What is the motivation? The motivation here is to analyze the existing YAM model as defined in RFC 8795 to support the CMAP use cases requirements. The expectation is some of these requirements are already supported, and some may need extensions. So we don't believe that 8795 will do everything, but just some, because 8795 is a topology model which is multi-layer, allows navigation and correlation between the layers, and it is generic, applicable to multiple layers, domains, and technologies, which is exactly what CMAS wants to be. And we have 2 drafts. One draft is in TIS that says that the T topology models can be used and if needed profiled for also for what people call non-T applications. But with this draft is more focused on how we can profile the T topology for the CMA specific application. So we think it's just an initial gap analysis. This is not new, so more work has to be done, but more meat is in the slides that we presented 2 years ago in an interim meeting, and we can continue if there is interest to go into this analysis. What is the issue? Why I keep coming here and say there is 8795? Because there is a requirement. I heard that people want to have a simple data model for an application. After discussion, I qualified as simple as my application requires data in a specific format. For example, application 1 requires to see the bidirectional link as a single entity. So I want to get this data as I need from the control array, and works perfectly between application 1 and control array. This works perfectly. But then I have another application that wants to work on, which benefits for seeing all the links as unidirectional. So the links bidirectional is 2 links. Then that works perfectly on a different data model specific for application 2, works perfectly over controller P. Now, thank you. We have two good silos of application and controller that works perfectly well between themselves. But if I want to move application 1 over controller B, good luck, because controller B is not exposing the data model that you expect. So who is going to change? Because all of them can, oh, we are standard compliant, we have everything, we are fine, you can translate, you can do whatever you want. So what happens if you go into this direction? It will be a nightmare for the operator that has to renegotiate between all his application vendors and all his controller vendors how to make application works over controller or live as they are living today in silos. This application works over this controller, this application over different controllers. So my question is, after 2 years coming here and repeating there is a big elephant in the room, do we really care about this big elephant? The big elephant is here. I see it, it's there. If you don't care, we don't care. But give an answer, okay? Do we care about multi-vendor interop? and therefore try to reuse what already exists, or we don't care. We think that having something which is simple is the best thing to do. Who cares about the fact that there is another solution? And people will figure it out how the two different solutions will work, or we will never work, they will stay in different silos. And simple is, depends. What is simple for me may not be simple for somebody else. Thank you.
Daniele Ceccarelli from Cisco, you are asking a question, so I think you are
It's
seeking
mainly for operators,
answers.
but it's good to have feedback.
Yes, I would say the answer to your question is yes, because I mean that's an interoperability issue. That's also an implementation issue, because as speaking as a vendor, I would like not to have multiple implementations to do the same thing. As I told you at the next the last meeting, having the problem of AT795 is that it's bounded to TE, and so everyone that is doesn't care about the TE, and I understand it, doesn't want to deal with AT795. I don't know if it's possible to have I don't know a profile of that model here, which is completely decoupled from TE. I don't know.
The problem is the namespace and the attribute names.
Yeah, that's
the other point is that people can say, okay, we keep TE is in its silos, and then when you have a network where I have TE and non-TE, and also non-TE is also hard to understand. The drafting thesis describing that also if you look at what is TE, the definition is very broad. And so there are some people that think TE is in a very strict sense is MPLS-T. I heard people that say T is MPLS-T. Other people think, well, it's a little bit more than MPLS-TP. We have also OTN, WDM, SRT, and some people think so. That's an example I'm having. I'm hearing some vendors, especially yours vendor, that likes to use SRLG to make sure that IP fuzzer route backup path doesn't fail when the primary path fails. Is this TE or non-TE? But you need SRLG. SRLG, where is defined? In TE. Which topology gives me the SRLG of the link? The TE topology.
Rashad?
Yeah, so I just wanted to point to what Med said after Olga's presentation on CMAP. If anybody missed it, Med, if you're still around, you can repeat what you said then about having duplicate work and that kind of stuff.
I don't remember what I said, but the mean, I would say the idea is to say that, yeah, we need to decide on this early in the process. Yeah, please have both, I would say, both of you, I would say, presenting the two approaches, starting from the T's and then profiling it, or starting from the topology, adding what is missing, show that gap, and please make the decision as soon as possible. I trust the chairs will be the one helping this, because it doesn't make sense that we just continue like this in two separate parallel trends. It's not useful for none of us.
I agree, Matt. I'm not planning to continue. I'm planning to get a decision because the information is there, is on the table since a long time. And figuring out this requirement, yes, this requirement, no, is not going to change the direction. It's the big direction is, do we want to reuse what we already have, or do we want to do something else?
Yeah, what is different Italy right now is that before you were just claiming stuff, and now you have a draft in which you are trying to do the profiling to show something concrete, so people have something to look into that. So that's a good progress in my point of view.
I agree.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the 3 extra minutes of your time in this meeting. This is my last meeting of this week. Thank you.